We've been talking about adjective dependent clauses, and today we're actually going to talk about relative pronouns and how you know whether you should use who or whom in that adjective clause. Now, when in doubt, use who. It is way more commonly used. And in fact, when I hear a lot of people use whom, it seems like they're using whom to try to sound smart because they don't actually use it correctly. So, when in doubt, use who. But actually, by the end of this lesson, I'm hoping you understand whether to use who or whom and can actually sound smart and be smart when you use who and whom correctly. Okay, you're going to have to bear with me because it's going to start out being a little confusing, but I really think you'll get it by the end. Who is a subjective pronoun. You are going to use who when the relative pronoun is the subject of the clause. Now, I know that sounds confusing, but if you remember when you were a little kid and learned about the pronouns I and me, I is the subjective pronoun. Me is an objective pronoun. Use I as the subject of your sentence or the subject of this independent clause. So the verb is hope. Well, who hopes? I do. I is the subject. Me is an objective pronoun. It's the object of the preposition with here. But basically what I want you to know is you use I as a subjective pronoun. You would not say, me hope you'll come with me, or at least I hope you win it. Who is also a subjective pronoun. You're going to use who when it's the subject of the clause. Let's take a look. So let's look at this sentence here. My sister, who is also my friend, is 20. First of all, it's really important that you only look at the adjective clause, because otherwise it's going to throw you off if you look at the rest of the sentence, if you look at the independent clause. So what is the adjective clause in this sentence that's describing someone? Oh, it's who is also my friend. So I'm actually going to cover up the rest of the sentence. And if you're looking at a sentence, I would suggest that you cover the rest up with your fingers. Just look at the dependent clause there. Who is also my friend? Now, we're going to start by finding the main verb of that clause. Reminder, verbs can be action verbs or linking verbs. So what is the main verb of this adjective clause? It's is. Now, who is actually the subject of this clause? Who is the subject? Is the verb. Let's look at another one. The kid who loves blue is actually wearing green today. Again, first step, pick out that adjective clause. It's who loves blue. So let's cover the rest up and just look at the adjective clause. What's the main verb in this clause? What's the action? Oh, it's loves. Now, loves is the main verb. The subject is actually who. We're going to use who when it's the subject of the clause. Now, whom is an objective pronoun. You are going to use whom when the clause already has a subject because it's an objective pronoun. I'm hoping this will make sense in a minute. Let's look at an example. The teacher whom I like the best is interesting. Again, it's very important that you only look at the adjective dependent clause, which is whom I like the best. So just looking at that clause, what's the main verb? Oh, it's like. Now, the subject of the clause, take a look. Is there already a subject there? Who likes it? Oh, I like. I is the subject of this clause. Who or what the clause is about. Since there is already a subject there, that's when I use whom. I'm going to say that again. I'm going to use whom when there's already a subject there. I is the subject of this clause. I'm using whom. Let's look at another one. The athletes whom John admires most are swimmers. Again, just look at the adjective clause, which is whom John admires most. Okay, what's the main verb? What's John doing? Oh, admires. That's the main verb. Is there already a subject there? Who's doing the admiring? Oh, John. When there's already a subject there, use whom. Okay, now I want you to see if you can figure this out. The girl called the boy who or whom she met at the movies. Again, pay attention to just the adjective clause. It's who or whom she met at the movies, so I'm going to pull that down here. Who or whom she met at the movies. What's the main verb? What's the action word? Met. Is there already a subject for the verb met? Yes, there is. She. Since there's already a subject, who or what we're talking about, she, what do I use? Whom. I'm using whom since there's already a subject for that clause. Let's take a look at another one. Mr. Fryman, who or whom is the dean of students, called me to his office. Don't worry, he's a nice guy. Okay, first of all, I want to just look at the adjective clause, and that is who or whom is the dean of students. So I'm going to pull that down here. Who or whom is the dean of students? What's the main verb? It's a linking verb. Is. Okay. Is there already a subject for the verb is? Nope. So what do I use? I need a subject in this clause. I'm going to use who because who is going to act as my subject. Use who as the subject of the clause. Let's take a look at this one. The students who or whom are in this class are great. First of all, I need to pick out the adjective clause, and it is who or whom are in this class. I'm going to pull that down here. Who or whom are in this class. What's the main verb? It's a linking verb. Are. Is there already a subject for the verb are? Nope. Which one do you use as the subject of a clause? Who. Let's look at this one. Lois Lowry, who or whom my teacher loves, is the author of The Giver. What's my adjective clause? Who or whom my teacher loves. So again, let's look at just that part. What's the main verb of this clause? Loves. Is there already a subject for the verb loves? Yes, there is. It's my teacher. Okay. Since there's already a subject there, what goes in this blank? Which relative pronoun? Whom. Lois Lowry, whom my teacher loves, is the author of The Giver. So I'm hoping that makes a little more sense now, and I think it'll make more sense as you continue to practice, but you're going to use who when the relative pronoun is the subject of the clause. My sister, who is also my friend, is 20. This is the subject of the clause. And you're going to use whom when it's acting as an objective pronoun, or basically when there is already a subject in that clause, use whom. The teacher whom I admire most is kind. So now you can go out there and use who or whom correctly and sound smart, and you'll actually know what you're talking about, and we will be so proud.